Welcome to Little St. Simon's Island. Hello everybody, I'm Nelson Hicks, and today we're on the coast exploring one of Georgia's barrier islands, Little St. Simon's Island. Sure, many of you have been to St. Simon's Island, but how many of you have been to Little St. Simon's Island? Today, we're going to show you what a trip here is all about. 10,000 intrusion-free acres of maritime forest and marshlands, 7 miles of shell-strewn beaches. This extraordinary natural sanctuary, among the last of its kind anywhere, is how Little St. Simon's Island welcomes guests to this virtually untouched island. And although it shares a name with its larger counterpart, that's where the similarities between St. Simon's and Little St. Simon's end.
It's very different from the normal St. Simon's experience. That one is much more commercial. Certainly it's beautiful with lots of the beach and everything, but this is much more laid back, much more personal experience than what you would experience on St. Simon's.
That personal experience actually does start on St. Simon's. That's because Little St. Simon's can only be reached by boat. Although the ferry ride from St. Simon's to Little St. Simon's is only a few miles, the short trip transports guests to a world away.
Well, I've never been on a private island before where only 32 people can come and stay, and so it's been wonderful. I mean, one night we went out and just explored on our own, and we were out in the middle of nowhere with nobody around us, just the two of us.
32 people. That's the maximum number of guests allowed to spend the night on Little St. Simon's. Some nights there are far fewer. There's a main lodge that serves as a gathering place for meals with a couple rooms in it. There's several other cottages tucked among the oaks right around it. No TVs, no phones in guest rooms.
It's like stepping back in time. We went on a ride this morning out into the woods, a different part of the island that was like going into Jurassic Park. It was almost truly prehistoric.
Guests won't find any dinosaurs roaming the maritime forest, marshes, or any of the other habitats on the island, but they will find a plethora of wildlife. Birds top the list.
We're right in the Atlantic Flyway, so there's a lot of people that come to Little St. Simon's to see the birds. And so right now we're in the midst of spring migration, so we have all these cool songbirds flying through, and lots of awesome shorebirds migrating through as well.
My favorite was going to the rookery. During this time of the year, the egrets are nesting right now, and so we got to see the snowy egret as well as the great egret. And just to see the mom and the dad take care of the little babies, little chicks, sitting on the eggs.
This is one of our freshwater ponds here on the island, and it's one of our rookery sites. And rookery is just a term where several species of wading birds are nesting together. So we got great egrets and snowy egrets out here, different herons and hingas. And they're all nesting at this spot actually because there's a lot of alligators that hang out here too. So these rookery sites are selected where there's alligators because they help deter predators like raccoons on the nest. And so it's kind of a neat relationship between the birds and the gators. The birds get protection from raccoons, and the alligators might potentially get a chick that falls out of a nest, or just there's more food around while there's a rookery. So it's an interesting spot.
Not only is it a neat relationship between gators and birds, for guests, it provides a fascinating scene. Dozens of mama birds sit and watch over their eggs or young as a massive alligator prowls literally steps away. And while the rookery is a great locale to hang out and watch the wildlife, it's far from the only hotspot in the island for a close encounter. Armadillos can be spotted around every turn. There's a family of baby alligators hanging close in order to survive, and a bald eagle chick was learning to fly.
We've seen alligators, we've seen several different types of hawks. We've seen a bald eagle, so things I would never be able to find on my own.
And Lindman didn't have to find any of them on his own thanks to the Naturalists on Little St. Simon's. The island prides itself on providing guests with unique and absorbing experiences in the company of the experienced and gifted naturalist staff. And it's those experiences that a trip here revolves around. The trips with naturalists and food. More on food in a minute. The staff typically offers several different exploration trips a day that bring the island to life.
One of the things I love about being a naturalist here is that the people I work with are so excited and so knowledgeable about this stuff that it's great to work with them and continually learn, and then have everyone share that passion with everyone that comes here. And I think, like I said, that's one of the things that the guests enjoy, is being able to add a little bit of education into their vacation experience. But
we've gone on several tours. We got to see, go to the south side of the island and the north side of the island, which is really exciting. We got to learn a little bit of history about it, and see the birds. I love the birds. We got to see wonderful birds, and it's just exciting to see this area.
When you step outside, you've got the oak trees with the moss. You can see the deer, the armadillos, and the beautiful birds. And they have feeders all around, bird feeders, where you can see all the beautiful species. And then you've got all your trips to the beach with the great naturalist. So it's a totally different kind of vacation.
It's those outdoor adventures, those experiences that people visit Little St. Simons for. The beach is there, and it's certainly available for use. But if simply sitting on a beach all day, every day, is what you have in mind, that misses what Little St. Simons specializes in: nature, wildlife, in food. Absolutely amazing food that you would never have time to prepare at home. That's what this island is all about.
We're hands-on. We create it, we create the dish, we create the recipe. It's not that you can just come up and get the recipe, because a lot of times it's in our head, it's in our heart, and we're constantly changing that flavor profile.
Chefs Paula, Garrett, and Matthew Raiford team up to create some of the most amazing dishes most guests have ever heard of, much less sample.
And we also have a braised duck that we also do here, that we make our own duck spice on the island. And then we take that duck spice along with the vegetable stock and a little Cabernet and slow cook it for probably about 2.5, 3 hours also. But we add apricots, blueberries, and blackberries to that poaching liquid, so it gives it the duck a very fruity type of taste.
My favorite meal so far is the duck that they'd marinated for about 10 hours and then slow cooked for another 3 hours, and it was like cutting butter. It was delicious, really, really good.
And even the dishes guests have eaten before elsewhere, on Little St. Simons, it's just a bit different.
Yesterday we had the best fried chicken I've ever had in my life. It took her a week to prepare it, and I appreciate it very much, because I will never prepare something for a week. The cookies have been wonderful. We have hors d'oeuvres every afternoon. Breakfast has been fantastic. It's all absolutely top of the line.
The fried chicken, we usually start it 3 days out, marinating it for at least 24 hours in a rub, and then another 24 hours inside of a brine. And then it's just our little way of making our fried chicken. You'll only find it here.
And remember, the chefs are on an island that can only be reached by boat. There's not a neighborhood grocery store around the corner if they forget something, or if a guest arrives with a particular request or allergy. And that's where this comes into play, a USDA certified organic garden.
We harvest something fresh every day, and it changes. And so the chefs here are very creative on what they can use from the garden, and it always affects every meal every day, what's available freshest.
I've been here about 1.5 years now, and I've had a chance to actually work with our garden manager here to grow out things seasonally and create the menu around what we're growing out.
And it's that garden that allows Raiford and Garrett to put a little bit of Little St. Simons into every meal.
The primary reason for wanting to have the garden is because not very many of us have the experience anymore of picking something fresh and eating it. Most of our food travels now 1,000 miles at least before it reaches our plates. So we really just want the guests to have that experience of what does a fresh, harvest when it's ripe fruit taste like, or a carrot straight out of the ground, or lettuce that was just harvested 30 minutes before it was onto your plate.
Rates start at around $500 per night, but keep in mind that includes accommodations, 3 daily meals, all drinks, both alcoholic and non-alcoholic, unlimited use of island activities and recreation gear, tours with naturalists, and the boat transfers to and from the island.
It was worth every penny of the trip. And it gave Joel and me a time to be outdoors. It was relaxing, rejuvenating, restorative.
We've never done anything quite like this before. We've visited cities, we've gone to resorts, but we've never done anything quite like this. So usually it takes us about a day or two to unwind, from just home life, raising kids. I'm in a busy practice in Augusta. And within the first half day we got here and we looked at each other and we're like, we're really on vacation.
It's hard to explain if you haven't been here. You can see it, you can look at it, but until you actually get here and have the experience, I think it's a little bit difficult to explain. Me personally, I think this is better than Disney World. I love it. I'll be back. I'd love to bring friends back to explore the island, to just see what's still here. It's a really, really fantastic place.
Nelson Hicks, WSB-TV.com.